So I'm Jamie, and my sister Callie taught me how to do sourdough. Actually, I've had several classes, but Callie helped me really get going on it. So that's also why she's here, because she's good at it. First thing we're going to talk about is who has done sourdough before? You kind of know what you're doing, or you're like this? Like yes or eh? Okay. Okay, that's not very many.
Anyone else?
That's like maybe 5-ish.
Okay.
So we want to talk like you really are new to this. Okay. Has anybody tasted sourdough? That's why you're here, because you want to do this? Cool. Okay, there's a couple things we want to talk about. One is flour. My husband farms, and I help him. And we grow ancient grains. We grow Khorasan and spelt and some other things. But the Khorasan, if you've ever heard of kamut is a brand name for Khorasan. So I'm just explaining. We have ours milled into a flour, and that's what I use. So, sometimes. The Khorasan, when I do Khorasan in sourdough, I don't really like it. But that's me. I think it turns your sourdough stronger and more sour. So if you like a strong sourdough, go ahead and use it. If you don't, we have options, okay? Callie and I make our sourdough just a little bit differently. I use 1 part Khorasan and a part whole grain spelt, and I was gonna bring those to show you how beautiful those grains are, but I forgot. So just imagine they're here on the table, and they're beautiful grains. So I do 1 part of each of those. I mill it up, whole grain, and I just love the extra hardiness that it adds to the sourdough. And I actually have some over here that you can taste. That's my sourdough, and then you can taste Callie's version of sourdough too, which is also very, very good. Okay, there's just two versions. And you'll find a version that you like that works with how you like to do sourdough. So I do a little bit of Khorasan, a little bit of spelt, and the rest I do with the Lehigh Rolling Mills flour. It's a turkey
Bread flour.
bread flour. Turkey? Peacock.
Just say bread flour.
Anyway, it's a high quality bread flour. So just make sure you're using the good stuff, and she'll talk more about that in a minute. So the first thing you want to do is find a friend. And today I'm going to be your friend. And we'll see how much start I have if you want to get a start and use it. So the first thing is, this is my discard. I've fed it. Oh, where should I start? Do you guys know about feeding starters? You know that's a thing? Okay, your starter is your yeast. It's the leaven. It's what makes it rise. And it's a living thing, and you have to feed it, or it gets really hungry and grumpy and turns black. And it's okay if it turns black. Just know if it gets a little gunky on top, close your eyes and plug your nose and stir it in. It's okay. If you absolutely can't do that, dump it off and then make it better. I've done it both ways, you guys. It's okay. And it won't kill you. If it's pink, that's another story. We'll talk about that another day. Call me if it turns other colors than gray or black. Okay.
Mine's never turned colors.
Mine hasn't either. It's really hard to make it go that way. So I fed this yesterday, and what it does is it grows and does its thing, and it eats the food that you're going to feed it, and then it gets to peak bubbliness, and then it falls. Do you have a peak bubbly?
This was like here, and it's kind of starting to fall because it's been sitting, but this is what it turns into when it's
And it's
eating.
got beautiful bubbles, and it's really happy and healthy, and I don't know. Can you see that? Okay, so it's fallen. It's done its thing, plus I traveled, and it's usually thicker than this, but after it's fallen, it's ready, it's hungry, and it's ready to eat again. So I'm going to show you how to feed it. And why I'm going to be your friend is I have some extra of this and a little cup, and you can take it home and you can feed your own tonight and you can practice. It'll be fun. So what you want to do is just start by practice and feeding your starter. And if you are not ready to make bread yet, then you can take your starter and put it in the fridge, Or you can just make discards so that you can make all these other fun recipes that you're discarding your... Discard is basically flat starter. So after it's grown and it's fallen, that's discard. Make sense? So far, so good? Okay. So what I'm going to do, and Callie told me I should know what I'm doing with grams. And I do believe in the gram scale.
Well, do we want to show them for just beginners on the grams?
Sure. And I did
Once
resist.
you get a feel for it, you can do it by eyeball, but yeah.
I did resist getting a gram scale for a long time, but it is worth it. If you're going to do sourdough, just jump in and do it. So she says 10 grams is a good place to start. And I just kind of do that, which is about 12 grams.
It's fine.
So I'm close, right? For feeding your starter, close is fine. Okay? This is my little baggie of bread flour. I usually have it in a big 5-gallon bucket. I didn't want to bring the big bucket, so I brought a little baggie. And
do you need a cup?
I need my...
Here.
Do you have a little...
Well, it's big, but you can make it work.
I can make it work. I have my perfect size cup over there that I...
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, so it's about 1/4 a cup is what I use. And I'm going to hopefully not make too big of a mess. Okay, and this is not my water. This is my water that I brought from home.
So she's doing 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour, and 10 grams of starter, and that will feed a new starter. The reason she's using a clean jar is because a lot of people do a method where you just keep feeding the big same jar, and it just keeps growing and growing, and they're like, I have too much. So this is, the clean jar method, I think, is the way to go, because then you're always getting a good, clean, new starter, and you're not feeding into the big, huge barrel. That's... A lot of people do it the other way, and I think this is a good way to do for beginners, and even for not beginners.
Okay, so I, put too much water in. So I'm just adding a little more flour just because we want it to be thick. And we like to say, y'all like Dairy Queen, right? Yeah. You can almost turn it upside down and it'll not fall out, but I'm not quite there yet, so I didn't want to make a mess. But you also have kids that like to play with slime. Do you know what I'm talking about? That slimy stuff? That's kind of the consistency you want, is kind of a goopy slime. Make sense?
Or you can even go thicker.
You can go
thicker. Is happier, too.
Yeah.
And that also, sorry, I'm butting in.
Yes, I know.
If you get it thicker even than that, then it gives you a longer time that you can be able to use it. It won't fall as quickly. So the peak leaven time where it's bigger and you can use it, say your schedule is not exact and you don't know exactly when you're going to be able to, it'll stay bigger for longer. That's less hydration is what. Okay.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Do you worry about the kind of water you use, say tap water that might be chlorinated or anything like that, or does that matter?
I have well water, so I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Do you worry about your city water?
They say if you don't have, you can use distilled water, or you can use, you can get it out of the tap and then just sit it on the counter, leave a pitcher of water on the counter, and
You also
chlorine
want
will
to
go away.
use room temperature water. You don't want it too hot. Cold is actually not awful, but room temperature is really best.
I like a little warm. Not
That's
too
why.
hot, but just a little warm.
So I've heard that you're not supposed to use metal silverware with your sourdough, but I do it all the time. Is it really that bad?
That's what I think. I know I've heard that too, just use wood or something, but I haven't noticed that it makes a weird difference. The thing about sourdough is, yeah, there are all these rules and all this stuff out there that you can read for days and days, but it's very forgiving, and yeah, you can.
And it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my start. I just fed it. Do you think you can do that if you go home? Little flour, little less water, add a little more flour if you need to. And I really like my spatula because it's so easy to just clean off. That's what I like. You can use dough hooks, you can use forks or spoons or whatever, but this is my favorite thing. Okay, did I forget anything else super important with
Well, any questions?
starters?
I'll just say this. If that were to sit on, in air, it will set up like cement. And so you don't want to pour it down your drain.
Good
That
point.
is one thing we were going to talk about. Yes, you were so right. So,
Even little amounts, you don't want to like wash big clumps off your hands, and because it'll wreck your.
I am very careful, and I usually have a bowl of water sitting to the side, and I'll wash off in that bowl, and then I dump it outside in my grass, on my garden, to the animals, whatever. But I'm really careful because I do not want plumbing problems. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Did you have something?
Yeah, so when you're using your Khorasan or spelt, do you feed your starter with that flour?
I have in the past, but I really just like to feed it with this, mostly because it's cheaper. It's more cost effective, but I also like the flavor. I typically add the spelt and the Khorasan, and I've added rye when I am mixing in to make the bread dough.
So is your bread flour like primarily the main flour that you use with making it? Or is it like half bread flour?
I've got a recipe over here. So I use 100 grams of Khorasan, 100 grams of spelt flour, and then about 300 of this. So yes.
I just know.
And here's why.
Corn flour,
Did you?
and it, like the first time, it was like flat and nasty.
Most of these,
Kind of helped my starter recognize that it's food.
I love it. Most of these flour, the ancient grain flours, are good, but they don't have a good rise when you do sourdough, which is why I like to mix my flours. So when I do Khorasan all by itself, it's just kind of flat. And when I do spelt by itself, it's flat. But when I mix them, then I get this gorgeous rise. So if I mixed einkorn with spelt and with some of these other things, with some bread flour, you'd have a better spring and a better rise, and it would be beautiful. So mixing grains is my favorite thing to do with anything that I do. Normal yeast and sourdough.
How often do I have to feed it?
That is a good question. Thank you for bringing that up. So how often do you feed your starter? This should take about a day,
Just feed it every day.
basically. Sometimes I ignore it and I go every other day.
If you're not actively baking, though, it could go in the fridge for a couple weeks. If
And
you're
it's
not
okay.
using it every day, so you don't have to dedicate your life to this. No, you do another clean jar.
So ideally,
So here,
here's
let's
what we're going to
act
talk
it out.
about.
Ready? Okay, so here's
Go.
your starter. And then say it's the next day and it's hungry again. So I get another clean jar say I want to make bread that day. So I get a bigger jar and I put some in there and feed it to make enough for my leaven. This is a starter, and this bigger part that you're using for your recipe is a leaven. And so you're going to still save some of your starter, make a new starter out of a clean jar. And then you'll have your leaven and your new starter. And then what's left in here is your discard that you add to your jar in the fridge that you make crackers or these other recipes out of.
But I would take this. This is also my jar that I like. If I just fed this right now, I could make bread with this and it would be my leaven for tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you don't want to use it all. You want to
You always want just to keep a little bit, and it doesn't take a lot. It really is a little bit, and then you feed it. And then you can use whatever is still active and bubbly to make your dough. Are we making sense? So far, so good? Okay, we are going to jump into, do you have your microphone on? Do what?
Is it on?
There's not a lid on
Yeah.
the starter.
Yeah, there's a lid on.
Oh, there is a lid. I can't see it from
It's
Oh, it's
magical.
clear.
It's a lid. And you don't want to screw it on tight. You just want it to gently set there, and it'll do its magic. Okay? Okay, we are going to move on so we're not on starters all night long.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to move over for a minute.
I'm just going to put this right here. Like this is my lid right now from the kitchen because I didn't have one actually I better keep it on there. All right, so what I'm going to do for you is from day one, we just have our leaven ready.
The next day.
This is the next day it's grown, okay? We're gonna go through a timeline. So we get out our scale, and hopefully you can all see this. Maybe this is in your way. Okay, so I'm gonna zero it out, and I'm just gonna start with and this is just warmish water. And I'm gonna put my recipe that makes 2 loaves is 570 grams of water. Okay. And then we're going to, this is our 11. Another type of spatula. If we didn't talk about tools, I'll just show you as I go. And we just plop that in there and see how it's like thick still. It's not supposed to be thin and runny because it's active and ready to use. Okay?
I like to call it, you can see the gluten strings in it too. which
Yeah,
I
you
like.
can tilt it and kind of see all that. Okay. And then you kind of, and this is already measured because I measured it yesterday when I made it. This is a dough hook. It's super helpful. Jamie doesn't like them because she doesn't like to clean them, but I love them because
I love them for everything
breaks
except
up-
this.
I like it because it breaks up your gluten. You need to mix it up. So I'm doing that. And then I put it back on the scale. There are bigger scales to do this on. And then my recipe calls for 800 grams of flour. So we're just going to add 800 grams of bread flour. And I have done the 100 grams of, mixed grains in and things, and they're delicious. But this one, I feel like just straight up bread flour gives it such a good spring in the oven. We're almost there. Okay. Okay. So then we stir it. And that's all I wasn't looking up. That's all the ingredients that is in sourdough. You go to the store and look at sourdough bread, like the Seattle kind, and it doesn't say flour and water and salt. Salt is what we're missing, but we'll add that in a minute. It says like 20 ingredients still, even though it says it's sourdough.
Like vinegar and I don't even know what else.
Okay, so we're just gonna mix it up into a shaggy dough. You can do this with your hands too.
Excuse me, pardon me.
But I'm gonna make a mess because I'm going fast.
Hold on, we're zooming in.
I wouldn't do it in a KitchenAid just because you can, but it's super thick if you can see on the video. See that? It's a super shaggy dough. And you don't mix it for very long, so it's kind of not worth it, in my opinion. Because I have a Bosch and I use it for everything else, but. Okay, so it's just that. And then we are going to put this aside for an autolys stage, which is just the time before you add the salt. There's a million ways to do this. Some people add the salt all at once. It's fine if you do that. But I just like to do everything, this is a 2-day method. So there are 1-day methods, but I like to do it the long way because it ensures that my bread turns out like that. So
Mine's a 1-day method.
and I'm sure it turns out, is this
It's
gross
okay.
to put it on the floor?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, I'm just gonna cover it and we're gonna set the timer for 20 minutes. Now, we're on to the next stage though. So what stage are we on?
Salt.
I've already added the salt to this, and you can see when you add the salt that it changes it, like it looks more like a dough. You see? It's not shaggy anymore. So it kind of turns into the slime like Jamie's talking about. But then we're going to, so the salt's already in here. So it helps to have a little bowl of cold water close by, and we're gonna do our stretch and folds. Have you heard of that? So I'm just gonna do some coil folds right now and teach you how. I love to have a big, heavy bowl because it stays down, or else you have to have a partner to help the bowl stay. So just get your hands wet and just lift it up. See how it, you probably can't see, people, but we're lifting it up and we're setting it down. You're letting gravity do its thing. And you can even, in this first stage, this is the first stage, so you can kind of slap it around a bit. Because do you see how it changes? It's getting, the gluten is activating.
Show them the first one again, the shaggy dough really quick.
The shaggy dough is right here. So it turns from this in 20 minutes to,
Then you add the salt.
then you
and
add the salt.
20 more minutes. You're
And then
doing
wait
this.
I waited another half hour. You can go, so we're gonna be stretching and folding for the next couple hours, every half hour or so. You can go an hour, it's just, yes.
When you add your salt, do you just do it with your hands?
Okay, so I'll show that. No, I won't, because I'll show that when we do this, but I'll show you exactly. But I just do my hands, yeah, just a little knead. And I have a really cool sourdough muscle right there from it. 'Cause it's, yeah. All right, so that's that stage. Any questions on the stretching and folding? So I'm gonna just do that every 30 minutes and then cover it back up with my special little lid here.
I have a question on the mixing bread dough.
Okay?
So on normal bread, you want to mix it a lot, right?
Yeah, because that develops the glutens. No, that's the cool thing about this.
Better?
Well, you still have to get it mixed up. Like you're mixing it even in this, when you're making the leaven, you're starting the gluten mixing. And then it ferments a little as you keep doing this, and it breaks down the gluten. So it's a different process than yeast breads for sure. So
it
Can you-
doesn't need a lot.
Jamie, can you just hold that or something?
Hold it where?
I don't know, I just need it gone. Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Sorry.
Now, we're going to show you, so then after that, after you're done with the stretch and folds, you put it in the fridge for a cold, long ferment, a bulk ferment is what it's called. And I put it there, on my recipe, it says it's my favorite timeline. You can obviously adjust it to your own schedules. This is just
Take one
my
pass
recipe.
it, I guess.
And the timeline for it. Because that, to me, when I first started making sourdough was the biggest confusing thing to me is, well, when do I do it? Or do I have to wake up at 3 a.m. and, all that. So, yeah, so I've just figured out that this is what I like best, is to start in the morning to make the leaven. And then you do your mixing and stretching and folding it in the evening or late afternoon. And then you put it in the fridge overnight, and in the morning, it's ready to do what we're gonna do now. So that's where we are in your recipe stage. Okay, so now we're at this stage. We've taken it out of the fridge in the morning. And do you see how it's like nice and soft and lovely dough? So what we're gonna do is get it out and onto a clean counter. I washed the table, don't worry. And some people skip this step, but I like to laminate it. And what this does is build structure, so you have a beautiful crumb inside. And so this is the fun part.
Laminate means stretch.
Laminate, yeah. So remember how in PE, when elementary school, you used to do the parachute? It's super fun like that.
Are you going to get in there?
I'm gonna run under it pretty soon. And I mean, you don't have to laminate it tons, but I like to. Look, it's flour and water and salt. That's it. And it's like it doesn't even need flour on the counter so you wanna stretch it kind of so that it's a little bit see-through but not ripping. That's called the window pane. So, you got this going on. Then, actually, so I didn't cut it first, and then you can laminate two separate ones, or you can do it this way. Depends on how even you want your loaves. So I'm gonna make this into 2 loaves. You just cut it, and then you're gonna shape it into loaves. Do you need it close up?
No, I think we're good.
You guys, I wish you could feel this. This is what makes me the happiest, this stage.
Describe the feel. Silky
I
like a
mean-
baby's bum? What?
I
Silky like.
it's jiggly like slime. Yeah, or not jello. So there's a lot of different ways to shape it, but you just want to tuck and roll and get it all, and then you do this because it builds the tension. You don't do it too much so that it rips, but that's what you do. And then it's sitting there, and at this stage, you do a little bench rest for 10 minutes, just so that it can relax before you put it into this. I'll talk about this while we're letting it bench rest. Here, I'll do this one so you guys
Do you
can
worry
see.
about the bubbles that are forming on the top?
No, because you can always pop them later. It's fine.
You only laminate it once?
Yeah. And I mean, there's always bubbles. You know how in regular bread, you don't want any bubbles and you're like throwing it and stuff. But this, there will be bubbles, but you just have to make sure there's not huge ones inside. So we're doing this. And I'm just going to set these aside for their bench rest. And just because I don't have a brain right now, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay? But it's time to, what's it time to do? Oh, I was going to talk about these. So there's lots of things to bake in because after the bench rest, it's going to go into the bannetons. This is one type of banneton. It's, what is it made of? Straw? I don't know. It's really light. This is a boule shape. Boule, it's a French word. What is it, Mom? You speak French. Boule. This is a batard. And it's usually, so it has this fabric lining. You can buy these, but if you don't want to, I sometimes, in fact, I don't like this one because it's too big and my loaves are just small enough that it kind of spreads it instead. So I don't actually use that one. But if you have a good shaped bowl that you like, you can even just use a towel, like a clean towel, and do that. Works just as good. So, were there any, and then this is rice flour. They say that this is better to put in your bannetons to not make it stick because it's not as absorbent. It doesn't make your dough sticky. It kind of dries it out, and it's just better than regular flour for that. That's why I use that. So you sprinkle a little rice flour, and then where are we at in the process? We're going to put those in.
We're mostly just waiting right now. So
Okay.
you have a timer here, you have a timer here.
Okay.
Just
So
talk.
this one, huh?
Is it time?
Oh, yes,
Are you ready for salt, or do you want to talk
let's
about?
add the salt in, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this timer though. We're just a titch early, it's okay. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's kind of, it's relaxed, but I'll show you. So what I sometimes like to do, you can do it with your hands, but sometimes your hands just get tired of being crusty and it dries them out a lot if you're working with sourdough a lot. So little glove doesn't hurt. And then you get your bowl of water and you add it's a rounded tablespoon, or I think I wrote 12 grams.
It's 12 grams usually.
So you just sprinkle that in.
What salt do you use?
I use French salt. It's gray, it's big,
Chunky.
you can use regular salt, but I like this, and it dissolves in your bread, so it's not big and chunky in your bread.
Why do you like this one over normal salt?
I don't know. Why do we like this one, Jamie?
I don't. I use normal salt.
I like it because, well, I love it in cookies and things because, huh? Yes, the French, the
It's all
boulet.
about French.
Huh?
I actually use regular salt.
You can use regular salt. It's healthier. It is healthier. This
Yeah.
French salt, it's pure natural. It hasn't had anything stripped from it or added to it. It's right from the sea. So that is why, I guess.
It's healthy.
I don't know if you notice a taste difference when you're eating the bread, but it's healthier. So you get your cold water, and some people add a little water in their salt. I don't really, so I just kind of do that. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Okay, now I want you to watch though, if you can see it all. Stand up in the back if you want. And it changes. This is the changing process. It's shaggy and weird, but now you're just gonna mash it together. Nobody's standing up.
They trust the video. They're gonna watch it later.
Okay, you'll watch the video. But do you see, it's like turning elastic. Like, oh, your video, sorry.
I am.
Okay. I'd never done a cooking class before, but it was my dream as a child. Where do you live? Here, just all the way back to Basalt. Hi, Carmen. All right, so look at this. It's amazing. So you just squish that together a little, and then we're gonna leave it to, this is called a wet knead, when you just kind of scrape it, and you can use your little scraper too if you are clean about it. Okay, so it still looks kind of wet and not like it did when we dumped it out, right? But it will turn, it will change.
It will be okay.
Okay, so we're setting this aside for 30 minutes, and then we'll stretch and fold over the next couple hours.
You want to talk about your Dutch ovens really quick?
Yeah.
What?
Are you guys following this? It's racing along through everything.
We're gonna be stretching and folding all night.
Yes, all night. No, really, I only do like 3 or 4 sessions. So like I'm watching TV or something, and I do a couple every. And if you go an hour, it's okay. And if you go 20 minutes, it's okay. So it's really forgiving, like I say. Okay, you guys know what Dutch ovens are. So Jamie and I do a little differently. I think she likes to do a cold bake, like straight from cold. I brought a couple different kinds. You can use parchment paper every time to drop it in, but I like to reuse. These are just silicone. You can buy things on Amazon.
It's called a sling. Silicone sling.
Called a sling. So
They're fabulous.
what you would do tomorrow.
Silicone sling.
Cut my silicone mat not to look like that.
Oh.
No, don't do it. It's a real thing you can buy on Amazon.
So cool.
Oh, you were gonna cut it like in the right shape?
Rectangle ones, I would put them in a circle.
So like tomorrow when, say these aren't the rested ones, say these are coming out of here, and we would put them on to this. You don't
Just
need grease or anything. And then you would score it. I'm not gonna demonstrate scoring. You can watch YouTube videos all day on pretty scoring. And then you just drop it in your, so I preheat my Dutch ovens to 500 degrees. And then I turn it down to 450 when I drop it in. I put a lid on it and then cook it. It says in your recipe. I cook it for 20 minutes and then I take the lid off and then I cook it and lower the temperature to 425 and cook it for 15 more minutes. The inside just has to be 200 degrees. That's the general rule. Then it won't be gummy inside. So Jamie, do you want to explain your cold bake?
Let me tell you what a cold bake is. I'll borrow this
Yeah.
Dutch oven. So cold bake is when you take this and you set it on your sling. This is cold, your oven's cold, you haven't turned anything on yet. You put this in here, it's scored, and then you put your lid on, you put it in the oven, you still haven't turned anything on yet. After you shut the door and it's all in there nice and happy, you turn your oven on. I think I go 450 degrees for about 40 minutes. So the 40 minutes includes the preheat time for the oven, plus the 30 minutes of bake time. And then after 30 minutes, I take it off, take the lid off, and then I finish baking just to brown the top, essentially, for about another 8 to 10 minutes, and I'm done.
Why do you like that method over the hot method?
I don't burn myself.
On the oven?
I love that, mostly.
Because I feel like the hotness inside the Dutch oven, it springs the first 10 minutes. So I feel like that really helps the rise of it. But
I've done it both ways. I haven't seen a difference.
do you see a different crust? I don't know. You'll have to taste. There's some of her wheat ones in the bags and mine are in the basket. I don't know if you can be able to tell a difference or not. I feel like they're very similar.
They really are.
So you do you do whatever you like to do. And that's the good thing about, there's a million different ways again. This is just my way.
Two completely different recipes. I have a copy of mine over there if you want to compare them and see what works for you. Whatever.
Okay,
Whatever
so
makes you happy.
Our bench rest is done. So you can either, you take it out again and kind of, you know, spread it out and go again, or you can just kind of do it again, shape it again. Am I on camera? Okay, so here's mine, as long as it's tight and gluten-y, and you can stitch it up or... And then after that, ooh, here's another good tool. See, are you taking notes of all the tools you might need if you want to do this someday? Okay, here's some. So I just use shower caps from the dollar store because you don't want a towel on top. That'll dry out your dough. But you can also, so I'll show you so there's shower cap, or I just use a huge plastic bag, and I'll show you that. So we're going to shape this one kind of more oblong for the batard. It's kind of, I don't speak French. Not good. Okay, so this one's just more long. And again, you can, the thing can't see me, but I'm just pinching it together to stitch it up. And if there's any huge bubbles, you can pop them. But I just put it right into the bag for a proof. So after this, after you shape the loaves, this is day 2, you're just gonna let them proof for like an hour or until they just proof a little bit. Mine's about an hour and a half. And you can, this is another thing, little trick, because my house is really cold. So I've actually bought one of these for my kitchen.
It's a heating mat.
It's just a heating pad. But it's a big one so that I can fold it over and I just put it on the lowest setting and it just proofs things nicely without taking a year to do.
You just lay them on top of it.
Yeah, so I plug it in right there and then I just put these both here and just like that. It doesn't get it too hot if you just get it on the lowest setting. I don't let my husband use it though, so that's not for... Okay, so then after these have proofed and they're a little big, you can either, and I wrote this in the recipe, you can either bake them then, so like dump them out, score them and bake them, or what I do is I do a cold proof and I stick them in the fridge for 2 to 6 hours, just however long I need to go do errands or whatever, and then I come back in the afternoon and bake them. So that is the whole process in a really quick nutshell. Are there any questions? Yeah.
What happens if you've left it in the fridge too long and maybe it's risen too much?
Like for days, it would be days if that happened.
Yeah.
But you can still salvage it. You can either try to still bake it, or you can turn it into focaccia bread, which is always a good idea.
Yeah, it comes out not as high.
Yeah, so you can just dump it in oil, do some olive oil in a 9x13 pan and just put it in there and poke it with your fingers with some more olive oil. And there's all sorts of yummy recipes for that online, like as far as flavoring or seasonings or something. But yeah, you can never, like if you think you've ruined it, don't throw it out, just make focaccia or try a loaf anyway and you'll be surprised.
Well, I baked mine when I let it rise too long.
Uh-huh.
The flavor is still really good. It's
just
rises
flat, yeah.
Like that. I call it my sourdough frisbee.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so if you think that's gonna happen, yeah, just make the focaccia and make everybody happy. Put some cinnamon in there and... Okay, any more questions? I know you'll have lots of questions, but...
Peach or apple?
We've made apple, peach, we've made a lot.
We
Blueberry.
made a dessert focaccia, and it was Callie's idea because she went to some restaurant and they had this, so we tried to recreate it. It was canned peaches with like a crumble, brown sugar, flour, cinnamon, crumbly thing on top of it. It was amazing. We made up the recipe. I'm sure you could too.
Top or on bottom?
The fruit on top. On top.
And you can kind of squish it in with your fingers. And then you crumble on top, and then you can drizzle it with icing. There's all kinds of things you can do. Just have fun with it.
Dessert focaccia. It's fabulous. Okay. That was a fire hose. Are you doing okay? We're going to simplify your lives right now. And I'm just going to tell you I made you sourdough crepes, but I'm going to talk you through it. I'm not going to demonstrate because we're getting a little short on time. Okay?
This stuff.
So, what happened was, this is the starter that I fed today at noon because I was worried that I didn't have enough. But look, it's doing its thing, and it traveled, and it's beauty, and this is the one I'm going to share with you, that you can take home a little teeny bit and feed it tonight if you want, and make either bread, or you can let it grow and fall, and you can make crepes, or you can make crackers, or you can make a bazillion other things. I do have a website that has a few recipes on there with some sourdough things, and they're fun. And I'm always adding to it things that I really like and I have time to type up. Then I add those. So you're welcome to go check those recipes out. Okay, so what I hold.
Paper towels are your friend.
Paper towels are total friends when you are doing sourdough. Okay. So what I was going to do to make crepes, this is my discard. It's been sitting around for probably 2 days now. It's flat starter. I've measured out a cup, and a cup is a lot actually. So you measure out a cup. I have a recipe here, just 1 second. Our sourdough crepes, I would take, and I have all of the ingredients over here. I just, whatever, it'll be fine. Cup of sourdough discard, which is flat starter. I have 2 eggs. 2 tablespoons of oil, 1/4 cup of either milk or water. I used water today in case there was any allergy-friendly people. 1/4 teaspoon salt and a tablespoon of sugar. You whisk that together. You've made crepes before, right? Mostly, hopefully. Okay, you whisk it together till it's really good and smooth. And then you add, I take my Khorasan flour because I like that with my discard recipes. It doesn't make those super sour or strong. So I use my Khorasan flour, and I sprinkle in a tablespoon, and I stir it up really good so it's not lumpy, and sometimes a second tablespoon. You still want it thin, but not too thick, not too thin. Does that make sense? Do you know what crepes are supposed to look like? Okay, so mostly thin. And then we have this really cool crepe maker. Do you know about these? You plug it in, it gets really hot. You dip it into, like I have a pie plate that I use, and dip it in the pie plate, and it's all thin, and it cooks it, and then I flip it, and it cooks it the rest of the way for about 30 seconds, and you're done. You have crepes. I made a whole bunch of them just a little bit ago for you, so we have little baby crepes for you. And they're so good. Use as a discard. It's not too sour, and enjoy. Okay. Any more questions?
One thing.
Yes.
How to cut it.
How to cut the bread, because sometimes people have problems with that.
I don't know why. Okay. So you have your loaf of bread. Okay. You'd think you would just cut it like a normal person. It doesn't really work well that way. So you cut it in half. I'm sure you've seen the influencers. And then you squish it. But so you just have it in half, and then I know maybe you want a whole sandwich. Really, it comes back. It's really cool.
It's magical. Isn't that fun?
And then you just cut it like this. So that's how we've cut it for you over here. Are we done to
I think we're about done, ready to go sample. If you want some starter, come talk to me. I have a little cup so we can put it in. If you want to know which bread is which, Callie's is in the basket.
Which is just bread flour.
Mine is next to it. Take one of each. See if you can tell a difference.
And there's strawberry butter to go on it too.
And the brownies are made with sourdough discard. Best thing ever.
Yes.
No, I might not. Did you?
Oh, you didn't?
I don't know.
It'll be on her website. Click the link.
If it's not there,
Below.
I'll make sure it's on there. The website itself is idahoancientgrains.com.